Okay, we've got a couple. Oh, Donovan has just joined us.
What's up, Donovan?
Hey, Donovan. Donovan teaches our promo workshop, and he does a great job. Sarah, hi. It's hard to see.
Sorry, it's hard to see.
Welcome, everyone. We're so glad that you joined us. We're going to just jump right in. If you have any questions, then feel free to ask us. Thanks for waving, Sarah. Hunter is going to. Who's that? Hey, I couldn't read what that said. Anyways, Hunter's going to kind of man Instagram. So if there's any questions there, then we'll try and get to him as well.
This is kind of weird. This is like doing teleprompter work. Hello,
oh, wow.
Facebook.
We have someone from Morocco joining us.
Sweet.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us from Morocco. What time is it there?
What's up, Andy?
Maybe.
Andy Haynes, my old boss when I was in radio.
Oh, nice. Vincent waved.
Vincent.
Well, we wanted to go ahead and kick this off. Well, we've got our lunch too. I hope that you have yours.
My lunch is brought to you by Chick-fil-A. This is the chicken wrap with creamy salsa dressing. Now, remember, we've got three things going on here. So we've got Facebook, we've got YouTube, and we've got Instagram.
I already ate my salad, so then I've got my snack, which is
she's way
vegetables.
Way more healthier.
And I have ranch dressing, so that's not very healthy. And my kombucha.
Hey, Jincy. How's it going, man?
So several of you guys sent us some questions. You know, we get asked a lot, oh, do you do consultations or whatever? And we wish that we had more time to be able to do that. But we just don't. And so we thought this would be a good way to be able to answer some of those questions.
We love getting coffee because we love coffee, but we can't meet everybody. So that's kind of tough. But we figured that this might be just a great way to try and interact. And if you have any questions, I mean, you can type it in on Instagram, Facebook. Oh, Jincy's in India. Sweet.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome, dude.
Man, Morocco and India.
Also YouTube. If you have any questions, go ahead and feel free to pelt us with all the voiceover questions you have.
Yeah. The first question actually it's about your home studio setup. And before Mike gets to that, I just want you to know that Mike created this really awesome PVC pipe setup that it's really easy to travel with. It's easy to be able to set up in your home.
One of the students from our 3-month beginner intensive actually made it in his home as well. And I think he says it was Steve.
Yeah.
Says it's doing a great job for him.
Yeah. Mike has he does a lot of the Talking Dead promos. And so there's been times when we've been traveling and he needs to go to do that and connect with New York. And he doesn't. They say sounds amazing. Yeah. So if you do download it, we have a home studio setup video with Gopal, who's an engineer here in Atlanta at Acoustech. Then you get those plans along with the video. So it's a really good deal. But Mike, you want to hit on the first question?
Well, also with that video and those plans, I mean, that mobile travel booth that I created, and it's not unique. I mean, I've seen different iterations. I just made my own version of it. You can create your own studio for less than $200 or so. Especially with those moving blankets. I don't use the moving blankets. I actually use it's from Vocal Booth to Go. They're sound absorption blankets. So those are really good to use. And whenever I've set up the mobile PVC pipe travel studio in an Airstream, as well as the house that we rented in Florida when we went on vacation last year. And it works great, especially if, in Florida houses, everybody's got tile. It's very reverberant. So it just does a great job of just secluding you, and the sound is just fantastic.
Can I just quickly interject a little bit? Our friend from Morocco that is joining us, they're fasting because it's Ramadan.
Oh,
so I'm sorry. But hopefully the broccoli is not like making you go, oh man, I really want some food.
I don't think anybody would.
Okay. Anyway, sorry.
I don't think anybody's mouth is going to water over broccoli.
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know. Okay, so the first question we have from James. He says, I've made my own booth from PVC with moving blankets on the outside and acoustic foam lining the entire inside. I have bass traps on the way for corners. probably in the corners. It's pretty dead, but when I have to yell for something like a video game, there's still a bit of reverb. Is there anything else you guys can think of to kill the booth anymore? Thanks so much, guys. And James is a great local actor, and he's signed up for our beginner voiceover intensive coming up too. So that's cool. Yeah, great questions. So I'm not an engineer, a professional engineer, though I play one here at the studio. We both have a very base knowledge of that stuff. A lot of the studios that you go into, they've got a whole lot of bells and whistles in there to help minimize all that, especially connected in their, in their rooms and through the microphone and through the board. For something like this, I found that it's really hard. My experience is it's really hard to do that. So you really have to focus on mic technique, which can be hard for animation and video game projects when you're doing a bunch of efforts, or if it's super loud, or like screams or something.
Yeah.
So you kind of just have to test it out on your own, because I mean, if you've got bass traps in there and you've got the blankets all around, for normal voiceover, it should be pretty dead. But for that type of thing, it's really tough unless you are experienced as an engineer and have all the equipment that and effects in your DAW, no matter what you're using, maybe Adobe Audition or whatever. It's going to be pretty hard to take care of that. So my advice would be, for auditions, you should be okay, but focus on the mic technique. That's the main thing. Yeah, I think that's the main thing that I've had to do as well. And I've coached with Thessaly Lerner. She's our advanced animation workshop coach, and she is a fantastic coach. She produces demos. She's going to be doing my demo hopefully within a few months. We just have to work out the timing. But I think she would agree with me on this one, in that you really need to focus on the mic technique. It's at the basis. I mean, it's the basis.
Can you give us like a little tip for the mic technique? Like, what do you mean by that?
Kind of hard to not.
You want to use my kombucha as a?
Sure. Never seen a microphone like this, but I'm glad it's organic. Yeah. So I mean, for no matter how loud you're going to be, you can always. This is so weird.
Just do it, Mike.
So I'm trying to make sure that it's on Instagram, and I mean, it's just a matter of fact. If you know that you're going to be loud, I mean, you just have to back up off of it. It's not going to be totally perfect like you want it, like it's going to be recording in a big professional studio, but you can minimize a lot of the spiking just by the movement of your head, either away and then moving your head away from it. But your mic is still, depending on what type of mic you have, it's going to pick it up. Or simply, like for us, we have the Apollo Twin. You can also adjust the volume, the recording level of it. That might help as well.
That would be called the gain too, if you have like a USB mic or something.
Yeah, on our thing, I continue to call it volume because like I can never remember gain. I think gains are when I was just
telling them, because if they have a mic, it will literally say on their gain. So I just want them to know that's where you look for that.
Yeah. No, I wasn't arguing.
I know you weren't. I just was pointing it out.
Okay, so that's my mic technique thing.
Okay, great. So the next question comes from Tracy Eldridge. She says, do you change the inflection, pitch, and or tone in your voice for your projects? Is your voice the same in person as it is when you're working? So yes, I generally do change it. Now it just depends on what type of project it is. The different specs require different tones, different pacing. If I tend to have a really high voice in person, but if I'm doing a more authoritative read or a warm, caring read, then I need to add a little warmth to that. For the professional sound, because of my type of voice, I actually kind of have to act pissed off, which is so weird. But for my voice, it comes across as just like, oh, she knows what she's talking about. So yes, everybody does change to some degree. Now, what I will say, especially these days, the biggest thing that you can do is develop your natural voice. You know, people want to hear you, the authentic you coming through. Gone are the days of the announcer type of voice. So many of our auditions that come through say we don't want an announcer type voice. So if you're in one of the camps that says, or you know, that would come to us and says, well, nobody's told me that I have a great voice for voiceover. Well, that probably means that you're really good for voiceover, because people are looking for really unique voices that are just real and authentic and that they can connect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got an audition the other day that was for something like that. They just wanted it to stick outside the norm. So if you have a kind of a quirky voice, I mean, use it to your advantage. You know, it's not about how good your voice is. It's about how you use it, what you do with it. And I will say also that a lot of people, when they come in for the Intro to Voiceover workshop, and Brian, we all put them in the booth, and Brian starts working with them, they read the script, and even though Brian will coach them in the beginning, they'll still revert back to how they think it's going to sound, or how they think it should sound, you know, from what they've heard from local commercials, which aren't necessarily national. So yeah.
A couple of things. Hello, Hunter's mom. She just joined on Instagram. So thank you for joining us. Also, Moses from Kenya, and Sarah from Woodstock, Georgia. Jumbo, Moses. Moses is one of our dear friends that works with Serve International. So thank you for joining us, Moses. We appreciate it. Yes, and a fantastic charity. If you are looking to donate to some charities, check out SERV International. Oh, no, it's SERV1. Yeah. OME. Yeah, .org. Great. Everything that you donate goes towards what they're all about, which is feeding people, and also they've got House of Hope for sponsoring kids and whatnot. So it's a great organization. Sandy, what are you doing from Portland? Say hello to our friends at In Both Ears. Yeah. They're there. And hey, I think it says April. Sorry, y'all. That's your mom. Oh, got it. Of course. We've got Hunter on the other side of this. We could break down the fourth wall here. I'm like, I can't even read. So, and Sarah had a question here too. Oh, yeah. What is your favorite voiceover topic during the week? Sarah, are you meaning like when people ask us, or let's see. Mike takes big bites. Yes, I do. Focus on the question. Hey, Jeff. I love Stephen. Oh my gosh. Oh wait, what was the question? Sorry, Sarah. What is our favorite voiceover topic during the week? Oh, she said yes. Like what people ask us. What is one of the things? You know, one of the questions that we get asked about the most is demos. Oh, and I just actually had a call with a girl who works in PR, but she's representing a guy that's moving from LA, and he's kind of interested in voiceover, but he's like, oh, do I need to jump in on the demo? And so we get a lot of questions about that. Most people, and it rightfully so, you would think the first thing I need to do in my voiceover career is get a demo. That actually is totally wrong. That is not the first thing that you need to do. The first thing that you need, pause due to poor connection. Oh, reconnecting on Instagram. Okay, we're back. But the first thing that you need to do if you are interested in voiceover is get training, because your demo is supposed to showcase really what you can do. And you don't want to get that too early before you're ready to say, look, I'm out here, I'm a professional. Voiceover is very competitive. And so you want to be able to put your best foot forward, and you want to be able to, your demo is basically saying, I am ready, if I book something, to go into that booth, to go into that studio, and to be a complete professional. I know what I'm doing. I'm not going to waste time. I'm going to be able to get there really quickly, take direction really well. There's several things that we ask students to be able to do before they even make a demo with us. We go into more detail. If you're interested in more demo stuff, we did a whole podcast episode on demos. In fact, we even were able to score Jeffrey Umberger to come and talk to us. Oh, the Umberger agency. Yeah. He joined us for the podcast to talk about what agents look for in demos. So it is a really good podcast. If you're into podcasts, check it out. It's if you just look Atlanta Voiceover Studio, we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, all the major podcast places you can find that. And since we're talking about that right now, we'll get to our last question here in just a second. But we just had a new podcast episode to go live. It is with Nathaniel Sundholm. He is at Emory Voice Center. Oh my gosh, he had such great information, right?
Yeah.
We talked about the do's and the don'ts of the vocal health, what to do with mouth noise, how to fix sibilance.
You would think that hydration is just enough, but no, he goes totally in depth with it.
Totally.
And it's fantastic.
How to deal with allergies, all kinds of stuff. So it's really good. So you guys should check that out. That's episode 4 on the podcast.
As we said in our beginner voiceover intensive class a couple weeks ago, it's not the sexy side of voiceover, but it is something that you need to pay attention to, especially
is there a sexy side of voiceover?
Yes, I would say the demos.
Oh, I thought you were going to say me.
I mean, that's what I meant to say. It's you, and then it's demos.
Okay.
Yeah, I think demos are a big thing too. And it just dovetailing off what she said about demos, you know, for us, think about if you just start out and you want to be, I don't know, an accountant. You don't get your business cards made when you just decide you want to be an accountant. You know, your demo is your calling card. So you want to be able to know that you can do everything when you hand that demo out. Although physically you don't hand a demo out anymore. You email it. That's showing my age a little bit.
Yeah, it is.
Thanks for agreeing with me.
Well, let's go ahead and get to our last question that we had submitted. Well, I don't quite understand. So this is our friend from Morocco. What up, Morocco? That is fasting because of Ramadan. So I'm sorry that we're doing this lunch thing. But he said, how about home studio and VO opportunities in the Middle East? I made a home studio too, but the fact is we have few opportunities for voiceovers at the whole Arab countries. So my question to you would be, are you on any pay-to-play sites? Because I think that you may be able to find some more opportunities there. Mm-hmm. Here's the pros and cons about being something that you have a real unique gift or a unique voice, or like you can speak Arabic, and so that is such a unique offering to clients. The great thing about it is when they're looking for someone, it's going to be you. You know, it is probably going to be you. There's a lot less competition out there. The downside about that is that you're not going to get the quantity that other people may get. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's just the difficult thing. But if we hear of anything, since you're following us, and we know who you are and everything, then we will for sure pass that along to you. And feel free to give us an email. And if somebody is looking for that, then we'll for sure push them over to you guys.
The other thing I wanted to mention too, in Morocco, do you have any radio stations that you're able to go to?
I can really hear you guys.
Yeah, that's what I just told
Hunter.
Sorry, Errol. Hopefully we can talk up. If you have any radio stations that are near there, that might be a great place just to get some more practice that you could just volunteer your voice for. Also, if you have an accent, I know you're in Morocco, but do you have an accent? Are you able to eliminate that accent? As far as what type of voiceover, is it in your native language or is it in English? If you can eliminate the accent, you'll have more opportunities, especially if you go to pay-to-play sites. Mm-hmm. But no matter where you are, you could do voiceover. So don't be discouraged. Keep searching. We're not familiar with that area, so we can't speak specifically to it. Mm-hmm. But that's a great question.
Yeah. Okay, so the last question comes from Mila, who's come to our studio. She's just awesome and a great talent. And she asked, what is the voiceover market like for kids in Atlanta? And then how do kids get experience with VO? Do you have any classes for children? Okay, so let's start with the first question. The voiceover market because it is done through studios and stuff, really it's everywhere. So it doesn't have to be localized just to Atlanta. But for kids, here's the thing. It goes back down to the quantity versus, being able to have something unique. So as a child, you're not going to get the quantity of auditions you would as an adult. And the reason why is because, especially for commercials, because who are they targeting? They're targeting adults to buy things. And so you're just going to get fewer opportunities. But that doesn't mean that they're not out there. And the biggest thing that I would suggest is to continue to try and find other agents in other regions right now while you're young, because you're going to have less competition. And if this is something that you are in for the long haul, then go ahead, get on with the agent now. And then that way, you're good. Once you hit that even college age, you're going to be golden. And it's going to be a really good opportunity for you.
Had I started when I was just a young buck, when we had to cut tape and everything else, we'd be retired by now.
Mm-hmm. And more animation, from what I hear, is hiring kids. For a while, they would just hire mainly adults just because it's easy to work with them, and then they can do a lot of different voices and all that stuff. But more and more are hiring like actual kids. Second part, how do kids get experience with VO? So, of course, obviously, if you audition, then that's great. That's part of the experience. But the great thing about voiceover, and this is one of the things that changed my booking ratio, is when I started doing a lot of work outside of my auditions. And what I mean by that is, I just realized Carl's going crazy. What I mean by that is making sure that I'm listening to commercials every single day. So commercial is my thing. I love commercials. But if animation thing is your thing, watch. I know the kids are going to be like, what? This is an excuse to watch animation every day. Mom, sorry, this is like my homework.
You might have to tell them to focus on the voices and maybe do a report afterwards.
Yeah. Yes, but make sure that you're listening. The other thing is there's so much opportunity to start creating your own content, and all of that helps, even with voiceover. One of the things that I would suggest that I don't think a lot of kids are doing, as far as I know, is doing a podcast. As a kid, there are not a lot of people out there doing that. What that will help you do is to continue to practice connecting with that one person. So that's what I would suggest. And then, do you have any classes for children? So we have had children, like child-specific classes in the past, and we hope to offer more of those. We are a little on hold right now, and that's part of the things to hit on to talk about today, because if you haven't heard, we're going to be moving studios. The problem is, what, Mike?
We don't have any.
We don't know where we're going.
We don't know where we're going.
Yes.
We've been searching for a year and a half, and I think when people hear voiceover studio, they think music studio. So I think that's probably filtered in through it. But we have a promising space, so hopefully that will go through.
Yeah.
So we might be in transition for a little bit.
Yeah. So we're supposed to be out by July 16th, which is a little scary. You guys will be fine. Atlanta Voiceover Studio, so you don't worry. We'll figure something out. It's just because we're not sure. We assume that we may end up having to be in a transitional space for just a little bit, even if it's just a couple weeks. So that's why we haven't scheduled anything right now. But I would love to do more kids stuff. I would love to do a whole kids camp eventually. So yes, we have big plans in the works. And that's one of the reasons why we've been looking for a new space, is because we want to be able to provide you with more resources and training. We have a couple more questions too that came in.
Are you guys going to the Atlanta Arts Collective?
From Rachel.
From Rachel. I don't think so.
I don't know what the Atlanta Arts Collective is.
I've heard of it, but I cannot remember at the moment.
It's for networking. Oh, for networking.
Oh, the networking. Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, I think our time has just been so limited consumed
with the moving
and then trying to figure out what we're doing. So no, not this year. Hopefully we will be able to do that next year though. So
great. You want to take the next one? It's from our friend Sandy. Hi,
Sandy, who's in Portland right now. How do you manage your voiceover careers? I know.
Oh, okay.
I'm just
I was
saying.
in Portland right now. You know, the deep
Yeah,
south,
the deep
in
south
Portland,
and the upper was it
northwest,
upper northwest.
country. Wow.
How do you manage your voiceover careers as a married couple and separately? We do it separately. This is the first time we've actually talked to each other for good month.
Mm-hmm.
How do you manage your voiceover careers as a married couple and separately? You know what? That's a really good question, Sandy. And I'm going to let Heidi take this one.
It's such a cop-out.
Because this is what she does to me all the time. What would you say?
Well, first of all, we do have a rule in our marriage that if somebody asks a question first, you can't say, well, what do you think? Like, you know, what do you think about this shirt? Well, what do you think? Nope. Asked you first. So he's kind of doing that to me right now, but let's go. So I will say there's a couple of things. One, it actually has been really good as a married couple to be in voiceover together because we get it. We understand. And it's a weird, hard industry to be in. You know, there's some nights that we are working super late. We're down in our studio.
Yeah, just the other night she conked out at 9 o'clock and I was in our home studio at
downstairs
till about 2 o'clock.
Yeah. So it is really hard. And then you also understand when there's, you know, those weeks or whatever that you're just like, oh my gosh. I mean, there's a lot of times, especially at the beginning of my career, that I was just like, Mike, what am I even any good? And am I not gonna do this? Or like, maybe I just should quit. And he's like, oh my gosh, stop. No,
I said quit and just be my personal assistant.
Oh, if you wish. But yeah, so it is, there are some challenges, but I will say that one of the things that whether your spouse or partner or whatever is in voiceover, a roommate is in voiceover or not, if you can just sit them down and say, listen, I'm doing something that's a little crazy because it is an industry that a lot of people don't understand. It's not the normal like 9 to 5. And if there's any way you could just give me support in the high times and the low times, and just, I know it may be weird and strange, and there's a lot of things that I'm going to be kind of navigating through, but if you can just say, listen, I'm here to support you, then going forward, that is going to be so helpful to you. But then I think also if you just verbalize that ahead of time and saying, this is weird. Okay, I know this is going to be really strange and difficult to navigate. And I think that if you say that up front, that's really going to help. But it's helped with Mike and I because things that we've learned, you know, I jumped on QuickBooks first and he's like, oh, show me how you do that. So it really has been a really great beneficial thing.
And I didn't like it, so I let her brother now do it. I just hire him.
What works for you, you
Right,
know?
right.
We're two different people. So yeah.
I think as anything, as a married couple, or as a couple, whoever you're dating or in a relationship with, I mean, communication is the factor, is the huge thing. So like Heidi was saying, if your spouse or your significant other isn't in the industry, you know, you just have to communicate with them. Hey, this is probably going to happen at some point. I just want you to be aware of it. What I need is for you to be supportive and tell me X, Y, Z, and everything's going to be okay, and blah, blah, blah. And we'll get over that hump. If you don't know how to communicate with your spouse or significant other, go to counseling.
Yeah, we highly recommend.
We highly recommend it. We've been in counseling on and off for years. Everybody spends money on the wedding and then they don't do the maintenance. And so we are big believers in getting counseling. Two great counselors, GraceSummitInc.org. That's Grace, SUMMITINC.org. Mike Spessard is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Also, LiberateMyLife.com. Sean.
And you can meet anywhere for Sean. If you don't, Grace Summit is here in Georgia or Atlanta. But for Sean, if you're not here in Atlanta, she would be a really good resource. And she's a business coach as well as like financial, personal, marital, everything.
Yeah. And so whenever Heidi's out of whack, I have her call Sean, Dr. Sean, and she comes back straightened up and is ready to work with me again. Please read the tongue-in-cheekedness
I really
on that
hope
one.
that Sean is watching this.
No, I mean, there's always an element of, I mean, you've got to be in a relationship. You've got to be humble. You've got to realize that it takes two people to do a relationship. So focus on the question.
No, I know.
Hunter's on it.
Okay.
See, like that, I just communicated with her, and I will hear from her afterward about why I did that.
Anybody else has any questions? That's not...
No, but seriously, Sandy, I think counseling does help, and over communicate, especially with us. I think one of the weird things too is that you get, if both of you are in voiceover, one is booking and one is not. That has been a source of contention for a small amount. It's a dumb thing, but we both feel it from time to time. It's like, why is she getting either more opportunities, or why is she booking more, or why is he booking more?
Yeah.
It's so weird because
you're like, it's going to the same
house, the payments and whatnot. But it's like, wow, are they leaving me behind, or am I not good enough? And it feeds into that that ego of, if you're booking, you can get pretty high up, and if you're not, then your ego is just deflated. So having healthy outlooks on and realistic views of, okay, what am I really experiencing? And then realizing that I am for Heidi and she is for me. And so if you come at it with any conversation that she wants the best for me, I want the best for her, it helps you have a little bit more grace with one another as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. What was the question of what they said? Write the websites, please. Is that right? Oh, okay. Yeah, we can do that on Instagram. We can comment on it, right?
On what?
For the websites, the Grace Summit.
Oh, yeah.
And if you don't see it on there, then you can always just email us at admin@AtlantaVoiceoverStudio.com. Sorry, Hunter. That's Hunter's email. So, but he'll get all that information to you as well.
All right, Bill, my buddy from Salem Media, who's in Tampa, had a friend say that a deciding factor on part of the recent client to hire them was how much presence the talent had on social media. Are you seeing this? Yes. You know what? It's crazy. I would say that there are some clients that are asking for that. We had an audition that came through, and it was a big company, and they asked for how much social presence you have. Meaning, how many followers did you have on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook? So some people are looking at that, and I think those companies are the ones that are tired of paying celebrities huge amounts to do their to voice their projects. And they're looking for the next best thing. Does that mean they're going to get the best voice? No, it doesn't, but they can.
And social influencers are so big. Now, what I will say to you is that don't let that scare you or think, oh my gosh, like don't go out and like buy a bunch of followers because of that. Because here's the thing is that is all going to come around eventually anyways. So you can buy followers these days. So, and I can spot it as soon as I go to an Instagram page. If they have, 15,000 followers and 10 likes or whatever on a page and nobody's commenting, then it doesn't matter about the followers. So what I would say is if you are on social media, figure out what amount of time you can dedicate to it and then engage. Think about relationships. Like just if it's only 10 minutes, whenever you get on there, just try and engage with the people that you have, engage with a few new people, and your engagement is going to continue to grow, even though those numbers aren't going to go crazy high. That's my take on it. I know not everybody believes that, but that's just my.
I would also add to it, if it's all overwhelming, because it's overwhelming to me too. Like I want to do more, but my main ones that I focused on are Facebook, the fan page that I have, now Instagram and LinkedIn. If that's too too much and you don't have enough time, like I'm thinking of scaling back, just focus on one and do it really well. I encourage you to check out some of the podcasts, maybe podcasts. I don't know if he has a podcast, but Gary V on Instagram, talking to you. And also, I think he does Facebook too, but I mostly see him on Instagram. He's got some great videos out there. If you are sensitive to hearing swear words, I warn you ahead of time, but he's got a ton of great information, especially with social media presence. I was just watching one today. The world is changing. And so we kind of have to change with it. Like I'm finally realizing, okay, I just have to accept it. This is the way it's going. So what do I do to maximize that? And how can I maximize that? But yet still retain being real and all the relationship stuff like Heidi was just mentioning. Be real.
Also, I just wrapped up a podcast interview with Jonathan Tilley, who's wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
He's a brand guru and voiceover talent. And so I just wrapped up a podcast interview with him that focuses on how to take social media from a burden to opportunity. And it is packed with some really great things. So we'll let you know when that comes out, because he also interviewed me for his podcast. So we're going to kind of coincide that. So, yeah.
Sean Coleman, fantastic engineer over at CO3 and voiceover talent. The man has done Squidbillies. So if you're a Squidbillies fan, you've heard Sean. What is your stance on audio slates? Hey guys, man, I think it's up to your agent for audio slates. Wouldn't you say? So like we've got one agent that says no slates, no slates, no slates. I've got a couple other agents that are like just your name, and I'll usually personalize that a little bit. Hey, I'm Mike Stout. And then there's another couple agents that usually have tail slates that they like. So up to your agent. If it's just online from like online sites, pay to play sites, I still would do a slate just to let the people know, hey, I'm, who you are. You want them to hear your voice, even though they're going to see it. And it just gives another, what do you call it? If you're having to do a character, it just lets them know your regular voice and that you can communicate that, hey, I'm easy to work with just by saying your name.
Yeah. And I would also say that my stance on slates too is like anytime that I can say my name to a potential client, I'm going to say my name, because even if they don't book me for that, I want them to be like, Heidi Rue, that sounds familiar. Like, do I know her from somewhere? Yeah. Or maybe I've just heard her auditions come through several times and they were good auditions, but we didn't hire for that or whatever. But that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah. Jeremy, miss you guys on the radio, but love what y'all do now. And go Gators. Yes. Go Gators, Jeremy. Thank you. That's a mini Go Gator. Got another question.
Yeah, from Raul. Do you both work for the same agency or different? How do you assimilate it?
Raul, do you both work?
And I'm guessing you mean like on with a certain agency. So we're not an agency here at Atlanta Voiceover Studio. There are times where producers will contact us and say, hey, listen, we have this, we just had something came through yesterday or the day before. They're looking for somebody to do some IVR stuff. And so we said, yeah, we can send you guys some auditions from some of the people. But normally those are people that have come through our class. So we just know already their kind of quality of work. Mm-hmm. But as far as talent agencies or voiceover agencies, I think we're actually all at the same agencies.
RSH, Lawrence, Talent Group, in both ears. Yeah. Rockstar. Yeah, actually, I think we are.
And that's one of the things that actually that I was kind of hesitant about, because, Mike was the one that was in voiceover first, and then he got me. I mean, I'd already been doing it for the radio station.
It was a great pickup line. We weren't married at the time, and so it's like, hey, do you do voiceover? No. Do you wanna? Yeah. And then we started dating, so it was kind of worked out for good.
So Mike has really helped open the door, honestly, for me with the agents that he was on. But I will say that, you know, I wanted to get on with a New York agent, and we're both on with the same New York agent now. And we just realized, you know, sometimes why not work together as a married couple? And then even there's
I would say all the time.
all the time. But there's one agent that Mike is with in Pittsburgh called the Talent Agency, and Talent Group. Wow.
Wow, I hope Stephen and Doug aren't paying attention.
Anyways, but Mike has been with them for a long time, and he kept saying, Heidi, why don't you let me just send them your demo? And I'm like, no, because I want to get on with my own agents myself. And finally, I was just like, okay, you know what? This is stupid, Heidi. Just do it. Sure enough, they were like, oh my gosh, we're so glad that you did this. This is great.
We need somebody with your voice.
I booked like pretty soon after that, and then I've been doing a ongoing GE job through them this year that has been huge. So yeah, so that was just stupidity on my part.
Was it ego?
Maybe a little. I don't like to say ego.
No, and I don't mean that as was that ego?
Yeah,
I don't mean that, but I'm saying that for all of us, we have it. You know,
well, I don't want it just to be like, this is Mike Stout's wife. I want to be like, this is Heidi Rue, you know.
Well, and they know that. I think they know that. But we all have an ego to some degree. If you have a spouse that's on with an agency, I mean, they always say that the easiest way to get an agent is to have somebody walk you in the door. So I've had friends that I've reached out to. One didn't do it because they didn't want to ruin that. I had an acquaintance that I did that with, and she's like, you know, I don't really do that because I don't know your work, so I don't want to take that risk, which is fine. That was her prerogative. But if you've got a spouse or a close friend that can hopefully walk you in the door to an agent, why wouldn't you have them do that? It's low-hanging fruit.
Just so you know, we don't do that either just because we run the studio and we do demos for people. But what we do instead of that is we try and give you opportunities to meet those agents, and that's why we have the industry night during our 3-month intensive, is so that we can bring in an agent or a producer, somebody that hires voice talent, so that way you can get to know them there, they can get to know you and your voice. So that's what we do. Okay, we have just a couple things to touch up on before we end, because I've got some more veggies that I got to gnaw on.
I still got my chicken cool wrap.
So I wanted to let you know, or just remind you guys, if you're not on our email newsletter, then you really should do that, because we put out really good voiceover tips. Like, I spend a long time just thinking through things, and I try and go, okay, literally, what have I learned in the booth this week? Like, what is something that has helped me to do better in my own career? So it's not just fluff. We really try and give really good tips. That's a way to give back to you guys. And in fact, I just got on Voice 123 back in January. It's my first pay-to-play site, and I wanted to do it just to kind of figure it out for you guys and see what works and what doesn't work. And y'all, I've booked a lot of stuff from it, and I haven't done a ton of auditions through it. So I really did figure out some really good tips, and I'm sharing that in 2 weeks on the email newsletter. So that's something that you definitely want to sign up for. If you're not, you can also find out about our upcoming workshops, our specialty workshops, our offerings, the latest podcast episodes, all of that.
Hopefully our new address you'll find on there soon.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You can do that on our website, AtlantaVoiceoverStudio.com. Usually you see it in the right side of it. If you click on any of those tabs at the top, you'll see the little place to put in your email newsletter, or your email into and your name. Or on Instagram, you can just click on the link in our bio, and then you can sign up for the email newsletter that way. And
I'll take it.
yes.
So Sally Neal is a former agent, 30 plus years.
Yeah.
And she's been leading a script workout class every Tuesday night each month. So her new class is going to start this coming Tuesday night. If you want to sign up, she still has a couple slots left. It's fantastic. It's just a month long, $200. Learn from a veteran agent and from her perspective and what she has to say. Because she's heard talent for many, many years. She's also heard how the trends have changed. So she can relay that information to you as well. And we've got, you can check our Facebook page. People have commented under her picture about how good that she is. So if you need to hear about that.
Whoops.
Now it's a party.
Oopsie.
There goes the dressing.
Oopsie. Sorry, guys.
Party foul.
It's a party foul. Home studio. So we've got our home studio video. That's pretty cool. We spent some time with Gopal, a local engineer here in Atlanta. He got started out at, you want to clean up? He got started out at Doppler here in Atlanta, along with Sean Coleman, who's still on. Thank you, man. And we ended up teaming up with him to make a home studio video. We get a lot of questions about, what do I do for my home? It's moving more towards, you got to have your own home studio. Well, we have so many people coming through with, what equipment do I need? What is treatment? What's the difference between treatment and soundproofing and all that stuff? So we created a home studio video with Gopal. He answers all those questions. And then at the end, Heidi ends up interviewing him for a bunch of other different questions that you wouldn't think about, especially for voiceover talent.
Like, what does he hear the client say about the talent?
Yeah.
What are do's and don'ts when you book a session and you're in the booth? And then as far as auditions go, what sets people apart? He talks about the level of the audition, which was really big, like the volume level, what you needed to set it for. So,
and I'm going to give one away. When you are in the booth, do not, and you're joking, do not press your face up against the glass. That's one quick tip. But it's a great little video. The other thing that comes along is the, like we said earlier, the mobile studio, PVC pipe studio diagram. And it also comes with a Twisted Wave tutorial. So if you're on Twisted Wave or you don't know what Twisted Wave is, but you're going to start editing, that's the easiest software that we found that does a lot. Especially if you're just beginning, or if you're a seasoned vet. We've got Jill and Trevor who teach classes here. They also use Twisted Wave still. So our battery's low on that one.
Yeah. And then lastly, just a reminder, we do have private coaching. So if you're not in Atlanta and you still want to be able to train through a studio, you can do that online. If you go to AtlantaVoiceoverStudio.com and then click on private coaching, you can choose to do a private coaching session with any of our great coaches that are all listed there, and it's done via Zoom. So, which is great. So you don't have to be in person. And then we also have our beginner intensives. It's a 3-month class. It's so great. It goes really in depth. And the next one starts in July.
Yep.
With Jill. And
Jill.
she has a couple spots. Two spots left. Okay. So.
And then if you are in, if you go to AtlantaVoiceoverStudio.com, we also have a 10 tips video for you. These are the 10 things that we focused on to make voiceover our full-time job. So you can check that out on our website. And there's also I think there's a freebie too. You have the freebie up there?
We do. I'm just trying to remember what it was.
Never mind. I can't remember. We'll post it if we find it. That's about it. I don't think we have any more questions on here. Barbara, great newsletter, podcast.
Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara.
She had said something about the podcast earlier. She said all the episodes were great.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So thank you guys for joining in. If you want more information, everything is up at AtlantaVoiceoverStudio.com. Hunter is behind the scenes here.
Yeah, Hunter.
Thank you for setting all this up, buddy. If you have any more questions, you can email him, admin@AtlantaVoiceoverStudio.com. He is the guy that kind of holds us all together here so we can do what we do on this side. And we are growing thanks to him. So we got to give him props, even though he doesn't like being in front of the camera.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys. Yay, Hunter, Sandy said. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And let us know if you enjoyed this or if you know of someone that could use it, share it. Because if you guys like this, then we'll keep doing these. If you don't like it, we're not going to keep doing them, you know? So let us know.
Yeah, or if you just want her to do them because she's better to look at, that's fine too. I'm okay with being behind the scenes. And if you have any more questions, feel free to give us a call or you can email too. I know we might be missing someone on IG just because we can't read it from here. So, oh no, Hunter's been on it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great weekend.
Yeah.
Again, everything's up at AtlantaVoiceoverStudio.com. If you are a praying person, please pray that our new space works out. If you're a thinking about people person, do that as well. We appreciate it all.
Yeah. And cheers to the weekend. Woo, woo, with my kombucha.
I'm going to go clean up this
Getting
dressing
crazy.
now.
Yeah, we got it. It's smelling. All right. Bye, y'all.